Antoinette Robertson, but everyone calls me Andie. It's a childhood nickname that my mother gave me. So she said, "You didn't look like a Tony. You look like Andie," and she's correct. It stuck. So
I agree. And what is your hometown?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Wonderful. So, what is one scripture that you really held on to during your most trying times in your life?
Oh, it's so many, but there are two. One is Jeremiah 17:14, which I have on my bag, but then the other is 2 Timothy 1:7. And through my journey, there was a lot of uncertainty of whether or not I was going to survive. It took a long time for them to diagnose the type of cancer that I had. And then once diagnosed, I went through surgery, but I also have lupus. So although they were able to remove the cancer, I started having major complications with my lupus. I started to hemorrhage. My heart rate accelerated and it was horrible. So I was afraid. And the fear had become so overwhelming because there were moments where I would do well and I was in intensive care. And they would take me out of intensive care and then my lungs would collapse. Or I would start hemorrhaging again and they would put me back into intensive care. So learning how to trust God, in the midst of all of that and holding on to my faith and not letting my fear of what could happen overwhelm me. So 2 Timothy speaks to that, that God doesn't put fear in us, but power. And I know from that experience, I feel like I have strength and power in me to endure. And it's totally different now as I approach any trial or tribulation in my life. I don't fear it. I'm ready to take it on because I know God is walking with me. So.
Very well said. You seem really comfortable right now, which is amazing. Well, that's really good. I like that you
Thank you.
Relax into that. So what is your story? What's your testimony? What brings you here?
My testimony, as I said, I am a survivor of a rare form of endometrial stromal sarcoma. It is typically diagnosed in women that are in their 50s. I was diagnosed at age 36, between 36 and 37. They're not quite sure how I got it. They believe that it does have some implications to my lupus. I have systemic lupus, so it attacks different systems in my body. And they think that possibly that's how I got it. It attacked my reproductive organs. It came by surprise. It took probably almost 6 months or more to diagnose because everything that was going on, they thought was a lupus-related complication. It attacked my kidneys. They thought it was lupus. So I had multiple different tests, but all of the tests were coming back, well, she's fine, but I knew something was wrong. And I just thank God that I had a doctor who persisted. Like, she wasn't one who just said, "You're fine, go home, nothing's wrong with you." She just kept going, sending me for more and more tests. And I actually would suffer from these severe bouts of pain and had to be hospitalized twice. And as a result of the second hospitalization, they did an MRI and they saw something in my reproductive organs as well as in my stomach that they thought was questionable. They sent the information to my primary care physician. Ironically, and this is how crazy this is, as she was reviewing the x-rays, there was a hard mass in my navel. So she sent me to a surgeon. He said I had a hernia. In the midst of having the hernia removed, they found the cancer. And so that's how the cancer was found, and I had everything, endoscopy, colonoscopy, you name it, I had it. And so, everything happens for a reason, even though it was a long journey to find out. Once I found out, I was able to get the treatment that I need. So, I feel like my life is a blessing to someone else because you know, I just think about if I didn't have all of these people acting in my favor, in my care, and how people who don't have that, you know, can go on and unfortunately may not be in my situation, don't get the proper care that they need and die. So I just want to be a blessing to someone else, whether it's to share my testimony, whether it's financial, whatever it is, because it's difficult. It is difficult. And, you know, I appreciate my family was there, you know, by my side the whole time. They never left me, you know, from the day that because of my lupus, I had to go in a hospital like a week earlier to have immunoglobulin transfusions, which is like to increase my protein levels so my platelets would be high for surgery. And my family is from Philadelphia, Atlanta, everybody, Delaware, everybody came. And just knowing that I had like a group of prayer warriors around me was awesome. So
that support is important. That's what I've been hearing. Without that support, a lot of people don't know how they would have been able to find strength on their own. So,
it's hard, you know, it's hard. And my mom and my sister are my rock. So
I'm glad to hear that. So during these trying times, how did God reveal himself to you?
As I said, I was very afraid, and because I had so many moments of uncertainty, and I was mad, you know, at God. I'm like, okay, how could you do this to me? I'm a mother, you know, I'm a wife. I'm only 36 years old. I mean, like I have my whole life ahead of me, and I was trying to grapple with the fact that, you know, all this is going on in my life. But he revealed himself to me in that what he wanted me to understand is that you don't always have to understand my will, you know, and I don't. But your faith in me has taught me to endure, you know, in essence. Because in the beginning I was, you know, upset, and I was trying to understand why is it that I'm going through all, why me? And I guess everybody asks themselves that question, but we all go through trials and tribulations. We don't know why, but God is trying to bring us closer to him. And we don't have to understand it, but we need to understand at the end of it is that we have to be a blessing and a testimony to someone else. So
that's a good way to segue into the next question, actually. How would you encourage someone through the blessing of this testimony to keep going? What would you want to tell somebody that's watching this, that's going through what you went through?
To maintain their faith. I mean, that's important. As hard as it can get, and it's hard, you have to rely on your faith and know that God is with you every step of the way. If you have a support net, you know, system around you, utilize that support system, because you can't do it by yourself. You need people to be praying with you and for you as you go through the journey. So.
That is an important one. With you and for you. Are you part of any nonprofit organizations, maybe a forum? Or are you taking any time to participate in any groups with women that go through what you go through?
In my church, I'm in a discipleship group, which is kind of a class, you know, where we're learning the assurances of God and how to be a witness and minister to others that are going through need or are in need of someone to pray for them. So it is kind of sort of, it's not nonprofit. I mean, the church itself is nonprofit. My sorority, we do a lot of health. A part of one of our targeted areas that we focus on is health and wellness. And so I have spoken and talked to women in the group, young girls, others who are may not be cancer survivors or had cancer, but, you know, definitely know someone who has been touched by it in some way.
Very good to know. I think someone watching this might actually join a ministry after hearing your 2 cents on it, for sure. Now, this is probably one of my favorite questions to ask all the survivors. How might your raw beauty experience bless or impact another survivor?
Well, when I made a decision to do this, I decided to do it for 2 reasons. Oftentimes, people look at cancer as a negative. and it can be, but for me, I think going through this journey and this experience and how God has transformed my life has been a blessing. It has totally changed me as an individual. Now I have a better appreciation for life and those things that are important. And I don't take a lot of things for granted, but I also don't sweat the small stuff. And so I hope that someone else who is going through this or want to be a part of this experience realize how empowering it is to embrace something that people see as a death sentence and know that I can overcome this. I am more than the scars that you see, whether I lost my hair or in my case my skin color has changed and the physical scars that I have from my surgery. The beauty that I have within is by far greater.
Very well said. Very, very, very well said. That's okay. That's part of raw beauty.
I can't mess up the makeup.
It'll still be there. Trust me. You need some tissue? I need
No,
some
good.
tissue. So we're just about done. Because this is the essence of the interview. In 2 words, how would you describe raw beauty? I describe it. Raw beauty is strength.
Empowering. It's empowering, inspiring. Well, my 2 words would be empowering and inspiring to women who dare to be great in the midst of a storm.